Bay Area's only female stuttering stand-up comic.
My guest, Nina G, uses comedy and humor to change the perception of people who stutter.
I'm a big fan of Nina G's. I've seen her several times.
She's magic, and when she's on stage, she just exudes that confidence.
First of all, there's not enough women in comedy.
She was so funny, and she's such a lovely person as well.
Stutter interrupted the comedian who almost didn't happen. Nina G shares her journey of overcoming negative stigmas in order to become one of the first stuttering stand-up comedians.
I think the main challenge isn't stuttering, it's to be funny.
For any comedian.
For any comedian, and for me, it's the same way.
She's had an interesting life journey, and what she talks about is real. And a lot of these comics get up there, and they're telling absurd jokes. She's talking about stuff that's real.
If I can't get validation here, I don't know where the fuck I'm gonna get it.
She's very original, she's got a unique voice.
And doesn't care what anyone else thinks, she just wants to be funny.
I feel like we would be really good friends outside of comedy.
I tell Nina that sometimes I stalk her, because I'm so proud of the work she's done, not only in comedy, but the work she does with groups to help make them more aware and more caring and more politically correct.
Yeah, that's my mom. Yeah, no, they just passed Castro Valley. My parents are on their way. I have my set list here. We are at the Alameda Comedy Club in Alameda, California. They built it during the pandemic, and it was actually in my book, Bay Area's Stand-Up Comedy, A Humorous History, because it's so weird to have a club open during a pandemic when they can't open. Alameda is my hometown. I'm 5th generation Alamedian. This whole town of Apogella, Italy, all came here to Alameda, where they farmed and started garbage companies. At least as far as I know, it wasn't mafia. I would dress a lot better if that was the case.
Now, without further ado, are you ready for your headliner, Alameda Comedy Club? Awesome! She's written some books, Stutter Interrupted, Bay Area stand-up comedy. She is the one of the few female stuttering stand-up comedians in the world, let alone the Bay Area. Please slap your hand flesh together for one of my best friends, Nina G, everybody.
Thank you, Dave. Good job. Thank you.
Hey, Dave, everybody. Give it up for him. So yes, I am the Bay Area's only female stuttering stand-up comic. And I am part of a comedy troupe called the Comedians with Disabilities Act. Yes. And a lot of people come up to me when I first joined it, and they said, you know, stuttering and dyslexia, because I also have dyslexia, those aren't real. Those aren't real disabilities. You shouldn't be in that comedy troupe. And I tell them, if you look at the definition of what a disability is, it's a physical or mental impairment that substantially results in having to deal with assholes. Yeah, thank you. Pretty sure it qualifies. Pretty sure. Talking about assholes. I'd love for you to check out my YouTube channel. Yes, not, and it's not for the YouTube content. It's not for that. It's for the YouTube comments. Okay, of a female stuttering stand-up comic. There's things on there like, you should really try weed for that speech problem of yours. Yeah. Because this would go much better if I were more paranoid. And thirsty, that too. And thirsty. No, but recently this guy saw a video of me doing stand-up, and he commented, "Oh my God, her doing stand-up? This is the bravest thing I have ever seen, a stuttering stand-up comic." And I just want to say, in your face, 9/11 first responders. Yeah, in your face. Yeah, because who's brave? Is it people who put their lives on the line to save others? No, it's me, stuttering dick joke teller. That's who's brave. That's who's brave, yes.
Both of my parents are Italian American. They also didn't have much boundaries around what I watched when I was a kid. And I was raised around comedy. Like my mom was more Father Guido Sarducci. My dad was more the Smothers Brothers. So I'd stay up late watching old Saturday Night Lives and Late Night with David Letterman, which was a really big part of my life as a kid. Just all kinds of weird nonsense, which is still part of what I love about comedy.
My whole life, I have loved comedy. Like the very first album I bought was a Steve Martin album.
When I was a kid, the thing that I wanted to do the most in this world was to be a stand-up comic. I love stand-up comedy.
My dream was always to be a stand-up comic. I was a really big comedy fan. Like the women I looked up to when I was a kid were Gilda Radner, Penny Marshall.
So this is like my report from English, Alameda High. At the young age of 4, I was introduced to a new subject of interest, comedy. It began when my family bought some tapes of Steve Martin. I am sure I was the only kindergarten who said, I'm a wild and crazy guy. I would stay up and watch the old reruns of Saturday Night Live. I named my mama Pig, which was a stuffed animal, Gilda, and her piglets were named Steve Martin, Dan Aykroyd, and Bill Murray. This anthology has a little bit of me, as does each comedian I like. I hope you like it and that you will get one big ba-dum.
I do shows in Berkeley and Oakland and Alameda, Santa Cruz, like all over the place. And recently I did one in Los Gatos. Have you been to Los Gatos? So you understand, okay, yeah, it's weird, right? It's like a rich that I didn't think we had here. In the Bay Area, it's like a Beverly Hills rich. That I didn't it should be called Los Gatos, it should be called Los Nose Jobs. Because the whole town goes to the same doctor, apparently. Oh no. No, and I did the show. Afterwards, there was this young woman. She was super, super drunk. And I'm talking to her. And I had sunflowers on my dress. And she told me, oh my God, you have sunflowers on your dress. My grandma died 3 years ago, but every time I see sunflowers, I think she's talking to me. I think she's talking to me through your dress. And I was like, well, we're in a bathroom in a dive bar. Would you like a hug? And that is when we embraced. And I thought we were having a moment, and I hugged her, and I thought I was very caring. And that's when she yelled at the top of her lungs, oh my God, your tits are real. Because in Los Gatos never felt real boobs. And I'm really happy to be here in Alameda. This is my hometown. I'm 5th generation Alamedian. Yes. I'm especially happy to be here in Alameda with all of you because you're not Berkeley. Yeah. Oh, maybe you guys have performed in Berkeley as a disabled comic. Because the audience is there. They are so politically correct that they were afraid to laugh at the disabled person, even when they're fucking telling jokes. That's how oh my God, that's how they are. Oh my God. And then in these audiences, what I always get is empaths. And like there's regular empaths. And then there's like the Berkeley super empath, okay? Okay, and these are people who are like, I'm an empath. And I take in other people's experiences. And I feel them. I feel those experiences as if they're my own. I feel that. Basically, I take in other people's experiences and make them about me. Because at these shows, what happens is instead of like watching me, instead of being on their phone, instead of talking, instead of all of the normal things I see at comedy shows, what they do is they don't look at me, but they look at their friends and they make eye contact. And they in the midst of my jokes, what they do is this. And then they give me a oh, they pity moan me, these people. They pity moan me. Now, the thing is, I love sympathy just like each and every one of you. I just don't know why that sympathy has to come in the middle of my act. Like, why is this the appropriate time for that? Like, because it's not my everyday life. It's not like when I go to Starbucks and I place my order and I say my name and the barista asks, is that Nina with 5 N's? Yeah, where's my pity moan then? Yeah, and I should tell you the background to that 5 N's joke, okay? This is it. I was once introduced to a guy, asked me my name, stuttered on it just a teeny tiny bit, and he said, is that Nina with 5 N's? For reals, he said that in the conversation, he said that. And that's when I responded with, no, that's Nina with two N's, and I did this. Yeah. It's a slight exaggeration, though. I actually said that's Nina with 1 N, because I also have dyslexia and forgot I had 2 N's in my name. So that's the real background there. That's for reals. That's for reals.
As a stuttering stand-up comic, I know it takes audiences a while to get used to my speech. In the beginning, I cared about that time. I care less about that time now. I don't know if I'm going to stutter until I actually say it. You may stutter on it one day and not on the other day. I've just learned to kind of go with those waves, knowing that sometimes it's going to be a lot, sometimes it's going to be a little bit.
It's weird performing in different places. A lot of times people think that I'm fake stuttering, like it's for the comedic effect. If I was faking it, I'd be the Meryl Streep of stuttering. You can't fake it this good. You can't. No, you guys see all that bad stuttering. This is good stuttering. No, and plus I have a rule that I don't fake my stuttering and I don't fake my orgasms, no matter how long either one of those two things take. Yes. And they can both take hella fucking long. Especially when a room full of people are watching me. The pressure's really on. No, but stuttering and orgasms, they do have a lot in common. Because if the other person would just shut up and stop interrupting me, I'd finish a lot faster. Yes. Now, guys, I hope you see how women like that joke. Okay, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this. Guys, what I've learned, this is for all of you. at this stage in my life, what I've learned is that women, we have many keys to the castle. Yeah. In terms of the orgasm, many keys to the castle. Men have one. And it's shaped like a dick. Like, that's all. Just like touch it, do things, put it in and out places, dick. That's it. But you know, women were so much more nuanced. There's so many different things out, and it takes work. It takes work, okay? It takes a lot of work. And you have to hold her hand because that's, yeah. And she is reassuring him. Yes. No, this is part of the work. You know why it's called foreplay? It starts at 4:00. Okay, you guys think it starts at like 8:55 for a half sex at 9? No, see, this is exactly. You're a good example. You're one of the good ones. No, but you know, like we will go into having sex with you guys if it's a heterosexual thing. Gays and lesbians, you are left out of this, and that's a good thing. You want to be. No, but guys, we go into sex with you knowing that what are the odds of having an orgasm? Like 58%, says 71%. It's basically the wage gap. Like, yeah, no, it's the injustice across many things. No, but we still have sex with you because it's an adventure, it's intimacy, and it's a special thing. It's a lot like going to a fancy restaurant. It's a lot like that. Of course, every fancy restaurant I've ever been to had to go to Jack in a Box afterwards. I feel you know that. Yeah, no, every single time. This is a weird transition, but let's talk about my grandma. There's no transition. No, okay. So growing up, my grandma was an old school prescription drug addict, okay? So she was addicted to Vicodin and Valium and the lady pills of the 1970s. If you cannot get Estevan for the flight that you have, because the doctor's like, no, you're going to abuse it, I can't prescribe this, it all traces back to a little Italian woman who ruined it for all of us, okay? And so I'm the first one in my family ever to go to college. First one to, thank you. Yes, first generation college. Those who clap for me, thank you. That's more support than most of my family gave me, so deeply appreciate that. Deeply appreciate it. No. And then after my undergrad, I went on for my doctorate. And when I finished school, I thought that my grandma, that she'd be so proud of me, right? Like first one in the family to finish college, the whole thing. And I called her up and I was like, Grandma, I'm a doctor. And you know what she said first thing? Can you prescribe? For reals. But it was like, hey, you prescribe, because she was so high. I was like, no, Grandma, I'm not that kind of doctor. I'm the kind of doctor who's $100,000 in debt, makes $13 an hour. When I tell that joke in Montana, which sometimes they let me do, I have to say that I make $8 an hour. Yeah, exactly. This guy did this. Yeah, no, that is the economics of it. Because in Montana, they're like, oh, $13 an hour, I could buy a house. I'm like, screw you, Montana. Yeah.
When I was 11, I was like, okay, I want to be a stand-up comic. And I would write material, I would call up open mics, but because I stutter, I never thought that would be something I could do.
One of the things about being a person who stutters is that we are interrupted all the time.
You can't be a comedian and stutter. That is something that I thought when I was a kid.
People like me were not on TV. People like me weren't supposed to do comedy. I thought you had to be fluent and not stutter in order to do comedy.
You should never pity me for having a disability, whether it's stuttering or dyslexia. But you can pity me for going to Catholic school in the 1980s with those things, because that sucked. Back then, they didn't accommodate you because it was pre-ADA.
Teachers would give me accommodations one week and then not the other. These teachers did such a job on my self-esteem that I really felt I wasn't as smart as everybody else or smart at all.
When I was growing up, I was very insecure about my nose. This one right here. Maybe some of you have it. I know one does. No, I was very insecure about my nose. And like, I was around 12 years old. My massive head had not grown into my nose yet, okay? So it was a very awkward stage. The nose appeared much, much bigger. And my mom is driving me to school. And I turned to my mom and I said, "Mom, I think I have a big nose." To which my mom says, "You don't have a big nose. You have a small Italian nose." I was like, "Mom, did you tell my brother he has a big dick for a girl?" Because it's about as comforting. It's about as comforting. Yeah. And I was going to take that joke out, and my mom said, "No, keep it. I like that one because it's true." So it's for you, Mom. It's for you. I have moved from Alameda. I now live in Oakland, and I've been there for 20 years. And I have rent control. Yeah, that's the woo. That is the woo right there. That's much more impressive than the doctorate. Yeah, that's a real achievement. Yeah. No, and Oakland rent control means that your rent only goes up a teeny tiny bit every year. It also means that there are at least 2 people on the face of the earth who are rooting for your death. My landlord and his wife. And that's how that works. Let's see. So I talked about my family. I talked about stuttering. Talked about being Italian. I think, shall we turn to spirituality now? Amen. And religion? Okay, here we go. For the longest time, I have wondered, what is the difference between an agnostic and an atheist? I wasn't sure. I think I finally understand. An agnostic is someone who isn't sure there's a God, and an atheist won't shut the fuck up about it. Yes. And I, of course, I am Catholic, like I said. And my pope as a kid was Pope John Paul. And he was made a saint. And in order to be a saint, you have to have at least 2 miracles. The first one is he cured a woman of Parkinson's. And the other one is very special because it happened at my church. He made the pedophile priest disappear. Yeah. That's not it. Then he made that same priest go and reappear in a poorer, more disenfranchised church.
Having such a hard time in school, my mom would let me play hooky from school once a month. And we would go to the movies. And a lot of those movies were comedies. One was Richard Pryor Live at the Sunset Strip. Being exposed to comedy in that way gave me a break from the self-esteem issues that I had when I was in Catholic school. And it wasn't until I went to high school, went to Alameda High. And Alameda High is where I met Miss Bramlett. And Miss Bramlett was my special ed teacher who just believed in me more and kind of identified my talents.
My name's Joy Bramlett, and I was Nina's high school resource specialist at Alameda High School. Nina actually came to Alameda High School to interview me to see if we could possibly provide for her what she needed to be successful with her dyslexia and her stuttering. She was like totally burned out with Catholic school. There's a whole group of educators who said, this is important, and this is how we need to teach students who learn differently. She chose us, and that started our journey to making sure that teachers understood what the dynamic was, not to help her stuttering, but to make sure that there were accommodations.
At Alameda High, I took a class in child development, and they had a preschool once a week, and the kids who took the class were the teachers. And the day that I was the head teacher, I got to do circle time. And Miss Bramlett came and she observed me.
I just wandered in, and she was doing story time with the little people. And I was blown away. I sat down really hard in a little people chair, and I was fascinated. She was doing voices, she was making eye contacts and making like hand puppet, and it was amazing. And when she finished, she came over and she goes, I didn't know you were going to be here today. I would have prepared something. I was like, that wasn't prepared.
What Miss Bramlett said was, I watched you do circle time, and watching you, it was like watching Lily Tomlin. And the thing is, I held very secret my dream of being a stand-up comic. But Ms. Bramlett, in her authentic evaluation and observation, was able to see that in me. And she didn't know that I had a hand puppet named after Lily Tomlin's character Edith Ann, and she didn't know that I loved comedy to the depths that I did, but she gave me that authentic feedback.
I was like, this is what you need to do. The way you emote, the way you make people believe in what you're saying, that's a gift, and you need to share it. And she goes, seriously? I'm like, seriously.
You know, women, we always have like little affirmations hanging up around the house, things to inspire us and to uplift us. Some of you might have something like hang in there or still she persisted. I have things that speak to me as an Italian-American woman, which is why I have a post-it on the dashboard of my car that reads, pluck your chin hair like no one's watching. Yeah, that's what inspires me. Yeah, coming here today, I hit some traffic. Therefore, I have a smooth chin. So, worked out. And growing up in the Bay Area in the 80s and 90s and 70s, there were so many like old school Italian places like Francesco's over in Oakland, Antonio's. They've all closed down. All of them closed. And recently I went to one in San Jose, and I was very excited about the soup. I was going to order the soup. And I sat down at this old school Italian place, and I found out that an East Indian family bought the place. And if you know Italians, you know what I was thinking. Because I was like, people from another culture are taking my people's food and they're making money off of it, and they're making it, and that's my people's food, and they're appropriating it. And then I remembered something. I'm a white woman from California who's taken a yoga class. No room to be mad at all. No room at all. No, because the way that I feel about mediocre minestrone is how every Indian person must feel when they hear a white person say nah. namaste. Yes. Namaste, a sacred Hindu word that Americans have put on an ass. On the yoga pants, Namaste is on the yoga, it's on the asses. I mean, I'm Catholic. That's like having peace be with you on an ass. Peace spelled P-I-E-C-E. You like that one? Now, and I hope that you saw for that punchline I just did 2 punchlines ago, I said mediocre and minestrone and namaste, 3 words that I stutter on every time. But I delivered those words and those stutters because that is the punchline, and that was a stuttering triple axel. I just want you to all know that. Yes! I will stutter through it. Yes. No. And this is where I always like to educate people about stuttering because, people don't always understand it. I get advice all the time about my stutter, and people will just stop me and in the midst of a stutter and say, just slow down and breathe. Are you breathing? Breathe. It's like I've been stuttering since I was 8. I never thought of that. And I guess I have been breathing this entire time. Now, and there's this thing when you stutter or you have any other kind of disability, and that is as soon as someone meets you, they suddenly have a PhD in the thing you have. Like everybody is an expert. Everybody's seen at least one NPR episode, and they know, and they will unload that information on you. And so I always like to educate audiences. Actually, once I was on a radio show, and a woman called up, and she said, I have a friend who found true love, and now she doesn't stutter anymore. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that the biggest bunch of Disney penis cures everything bullshit you've ever heard? Yes. Yeah. And so I want to say what stuttering is. There is a genetic component. There's also a biological component. It's something in the brain. So right here on the left side is where you process language, what you speak and what you hear and what you understand. And there is a difference there where the motor part and the speech part meet. Okay? And that is why we stutter, because we have a difference in that area of the brain. That's also why when we sing, then we don't stutter, because that's done with a different part of the brain. That's done with the right side. And that's also why when people use an accent, or they use a funny voice, then they don't stutter, because you are processing language on in a different part of the brain. That's why I could call my friends in the 80s and prank phone call them, and they wouldn't know. For the kids, there is something before caller ID that you could call anybody. It was wonderful. So great. It's the funnest thing to do on a Friday night. Yes, oh my God. Yeah, no. But, and my favorite example of somebody who stuttered, who used this to her advantage, was the actress Marilyn Monroe. She actually stuttered. She did. I don't know why the fuck she would give herself a double M name. It was really hard to say. Yes. I guess she stuttered on ends. So, yeah. No, and that's why Marilyn talked the way she did, because if you talk like this, you can use the right side of the brain instead of the left side of the brain, and then you don't stutter as much. Isn't that interesting how that works? Yeah. No, and once I was talking to a guy, and I was explaining stuttering to him, and I did that voice. And that's when the guy said, "That's very sexy. Maybe you should talk like that all the time." I was like, "No, that's cool. I think I'd rather stutter." So yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, could you imagine going to a job interview? I really would like that job as an astrophysicist. Sometimes it doesn't work. I couldn't say physicist, but you got the point. You got it. The brain is a weird thing. It's a weird thing, yeah. So, now, I've talked about some very personal things. Are you guys ready to get extra personal now? Oh, yeah. You ready? You ready? You're right there. You okay. You sure? Needs to. Okay. Here we go. Okay, let me get ready here. So I'm on my gynecologist table. My legs, they are akimbo. She's there, she's checking me out, and she gives me the following information, which was, "You have a rather long vagina." And when she said it, I knew it was true because her voice softly echoed. It echoed. I'm like, va, 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 jai, 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 no. It's beautiful. It was like a Gregorian chant up there. Now I want to be very clear here, everybody. Not a big vagina, not a big vagina. A long vagina. A long vagina. You know the difference. It's not like a 6-lane bus terminal, no. It's like a single car lane tunnel that weaves through a Swiss Alp. And why Swiss Alp? Why the European cars? They're small. She gets it tight. That weaves through a Swiss Alp. And then empties into an Italian villa. It's an Italian villa. Because as an Italian-American woman, I do believe that my entertainment center, that's what I call this, the entertainment center, that it is an Italian villa because of the sweet smells, the multiple olive branches, and the fermentation. Enjoy your beer. Enjoy your beer. Yes. But in reality, we all know it's more of an Olive Garden and a strip mall in Hayward. Yes. Yeah. Now, after that doctor's appointment, which literally happened 3 blocks away, when she had to get the XXL clampers out, and the doctor said that, I immediately got into the car and I called my mom. Because I was like, I don't know how to process this. I mean, like, I had no idea you could have body image issues from the inside out. But you can, ladies, you can. And so I called up my mom and I was like, Mom, the doctor said I have a long vagina. To which my mom said, I wonder who you got that from. Apparently my mom has a very petite vagina. and is trying to blame my long vagina on my dad. And that's... It's all true. It's all true. You can ask him after. When you have a disability, you oftentimes make yourself small. You oftentimes let other people take the stage, take up that space, and you don't put yourself out there.
So the dream died, but it came back to life. I reconnected with the stuttering community, and I went to a conference for people who stutter. When you find people who are like you really see what your potential is, and you start to question some of the assumptions you've made about yourself.
And I came back from that conference changed.
And that is when I started stand-up comedy.
I finally said fuck stigma, and I got up on stage and I went to my first open mic, and 20 years and 6 months after my dream died, it came back up.
In Stutter Interrupted, the comedian who almost didn't happen, Nina G shares her journey of overcoming negative stigmas in order to become one of the first stuttering stand-up comedians.
People always assume you're trying to be fluent and trying to talk like everyone else, but for me, that's not the focus. The focus is to hit the jokes, hit the punchlines, and to connect with the audience.
When I was a kid, the thing I loved the most was stand-up comedy. I would stay up late watching Late Night with David Letterman. When I got into high school, I listened to the Alex Bennett show, and Larry Bubbles Brown is here, and he's one of the people I would oftentimes hear on the show. And my dream when I was a kid was to be a stand-up comic. And I would write jokes, and I would call up open mics, and then I would take copious notes on which of the open mics had allowed minors, because I was determined to get up on stage and do my crappy jokes. My jokes were not good, by the way. They were like they were hacky 1980s jokes. Like the best one I had was, what did Ginger and Marianne do on Gilligan's Island for tampons? Did the professor make them out of palm trees or coconuts? Bad, horrible. You'd like them, but no. Oh, really bad. No. And so when I was calling open mics, I called this one up. It was Dorsey's Locker. Some of you may know it. Okay. So I called up Dorsey's one night, and I asked if minors could perform there. And that's when the bartender yelled to the rest of the bar, "This bitch wants to be Eddie Murphy." And I hung up scared because he knew my secret. The bitch really did want to be Eddie Murphy. But I never got up on stage. When I was 17, the dream died, and that's because I thought someone like me couldn't be a stand-up comic. Then I went to a conference for people who stutter, and seeing myself reflected in all of those women, especially there, was a thing that changed me. It was a thing that I was like, okay, I wouldn't want them to go through this. Why am I? And I came home and I made lots of changes. And one of those changes was I started stand-up comedy 8 months after that. And that's been 13 years. And of course, this is really, it's a dream realized. So I really appreciate you all being here and being part of this. Thank you. And I'm asked a lot of weird questions about my stutter, and I like to kind of answer those on stage. Because it can be kind of awkward. It can be kind of weird, kind of awkward. And one of the things I'm oftentimes asked is, do I stutter when I orgasm? No, someone asked me this. And I clarified it with, which lips are you talking about? Yeah. And the other thing I'm asked, and this is by men ask me this, they ask me, what is the impact of stuttering on oral sex? Yeah, so take that in for a second and think about it. You know, like they think there's an extra vibration. An extra, like... And I don't know about all of you, but it's really hard to stutter with a dick in your mouth. That's been my time, everybody. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this. Thank
you. Tell her about all the weird deaths in our family. Like all of the good garbage ones.
My grandfather. Yeah, he fell off the truck. And they were outside trucks, so they'd hold on the outside. They ran over him twice.
Twice, Gina. Yeah, because they were like, what's that bump? Maybe we should run over it again.
Then, where, you know, they have to have the garbage, pulls everything in. Someone had his arm in there. Did that kill him?
Yeah.
Yeah, pulled him inside.
And he was a stutterer.
Oh, really?
He was.
Well,
and
here you go.
Stutter dies.
And the end. That's the last thing we do.